Standard stuff. I've got
Yeah.
one where a guy states that he saw both the past, the very far past, and the future
Ooh.
That's
all
what
in one
all I
trip.
was going to mention. That
I've got a brief
everything
future one
seems to
after
go
that.
back.
Right. And this one, the guy, he saw both, is what he said. So he and his girlfriend at the time were in Bordeaux on vacation. I believe they were from Canada. And they were over in Bordeaux checking it out. His grandparents came from that area. So, why not do a little bit of family stuff? His girlfriend didn't want to go around doing his family stuff. So she would rather have been in Paris instead of Bordeaux. So she's off shopping, and he jumps in. He goes and rents a car for a day or two, and then drives up to this town about 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of Bordeaux toward the east. He gets there and he's wandering around the town. It's very, very neat. So he goes in and finds a park bench. And he tells you exactly where the park bench is. He says you can find it on Google Maps, jump in, take a look, and look around and see where he was sitting. So he's sitting on a park bench and kind of fades out a little bit. And he starts hearing strange noises. So he's looking around and there's no more village. There's nothing around him at all. He's got some hills and vegetation, and he sees in the not too far distant away from where he is, he sees a bunch of people there. They have spears, they have stuff like that with them, and they start running toward this guy, and he's like trying to talk to him, and of course, what language are they talking? But he says that they had slightly larger brows, kind of like Neanderthal. And they were like shaking their spears at him. They weren't trying to hurt him or anything, but then he started running. He turns around and hears this noise behind him, and he gets out of the way, and a mammoth goes running by, and these guys are chasing after the mammoth, and they get him and everything like that. So I'm going, okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting dream. It seems like something you get on the bench. I've never heard of a time slip going back that far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but there have been people living there since the 5th century or before, So why not?
Yeah.
So he gets in there and how does it go again? He's on the old-timey bridge, and he goes and he sees these folks, and they've got strong brows. These people aren't speaking French at all. He says, "Who are you?" And they look, and then of course this mammoth comes charging out, and he screams dirty words and stuff and gets out of the way. And then he finds himself in a clearing, and the mammoth goes charging by. They go out and they get the mammoth, and then he starts looking around again, and he turns around and everything's changed, and he's in a city, a futuristic city, in the same location where he is right now, but the buildings are tall and thin. Some are like crystalline type. He says that didn't look like any city he's familiar with. I looked around and saw a large wall in the distance. The street that he stood upon was clean, almost shining. He was surrounded by white skyscrapers on almost all sides. People were dressed differently, not too alien, but you'd notice that it was very different. Like had you gone, 200 years in the future or something like that. But so he was startled by a sound that came from above. Swarm of bees, he said he had heard, and it went over. And he thought it was a plane or something up there. But there was just a vehicle up there levitating, going by at incredible speeds. He started walking, and then all of a sudden, he realized he was wet. And people were helping him get out of the river. He had gotten up somehow, was wandering around looking at all this stuff, and had fallen into the river, which was right by where his bench was. So who knows what was going on, but he had to go and get himself checked out psychologically and everything like that, because they thought he was, trying to commit suicide or something in the river. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was an interesting story because it went way back, where he could say, these people were, look like Neanderthal, and then went way into the future where, you could obviously tell it was the future. And then, of course, he got wet.
That's a strange one, not just for the going back, how far back he went, but the only stories I've come across have all gone back in time.
Exactly.
I find one that goes forward.
Or
It's very brief.
the photos. The guy who's at the opening of the bridge in America. And he looks like he's actually in modern clothing. He's got sunglasses on and he looks like he's got a t-shirt on.
Right.
Since been debunked, allegedly, because the glasses were from the 1920s. And what people were assuming was a printed t-shirt is actually a sports sweater with a team from that era.
There's been a few of them where they've got pictures of people like interacting with the cell phone, like an iPhone or something like that, and they're interacting with that and in an old picture. And what was it? A mirror that they were holding, looking at the mirror. What was it they were actually holding? If it's not what they say it was.
Yeah, it just happens to look like they're holding it.
Right.
There's the one with
especially when you look at
the wristwatch
you're
as
in
well.
somewhere that has cameras for that time period. The ladies are all going to be out with their little compacts.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Touching up the makeup, and that's just holding something there and looking at it. So
yeah, there's the one where the guy's got a wristwatch on, where he shouldn't have. Wristwatches at that era weren't available.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few photos, but we can't not being here. We can't get them up.